it's still never going to be enough because lack just creates more lack. It attracts more lack. And the more that we try, the harder that we try to attain these things and to get these things. And the more that we don't get them or we don't get enough of it, in our opinion, the more we keep reinforcing the idea or the belief, the identity that we are not enough. So find a way to... Hello, beautiful beings of light. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Monica, and today's video is titled, "This is the reason why you don't feel good enough." So today is my grocery shopping day, and I am running very behind on that. I have an hour and a half to drive one way because I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I have a Walmart pickup. So needless to say, I was not preparing to make this video today, but I had this realization for myself that I wanted to share with you guys today. So today, like I said, is my grocery shopping day, and it feels like a whole day thing, even though it's like a half day thing because it's 3 hours round trip. And I only have to do it once a week, so that's really good. But it started this morning when I didn't wake up at my normal time. I have been typically waking up at like 7:30 every day without fail, without an alarm clock. I don't really like to use an alarm clock if I can use my biological clock. And so that usually works out really good for my routine, but it didn't happen like that today. I woke up at like 6:45 maybe today, and I couldn't go back to sleep. I kept hearing what I think is like a mouse or something that's in our under compartment of the RV. And the under compartment is under our bed area, our bedroom. But of course, when I woke up, the sound went away. I guess maybe the mouse decided to go to sleep, but I was still awake. And so this threw off my sleeping pattern, and I just laid in bed for maybe like half an hour, 45 minutes probably, until I was able to naturally fall asleep again. So at that point, I didn't wake up until after 8. Probably didn't get out of bed until closer to 8:30, so I was an hour behind. And I had set the Walmart pickup for like noon, so it's usually between an hour, so 12 to 1. And so my whole routine of like drinking my 32-ounce jar of water every morning, which takes me a while because it's so tart, was off. And then that meant making my breakfast was off, which is usually a smoothie. And my husband has meetings every morning, typically at 9:30, and I need to walk the dogs and just do other things to get ready for the day. And I wasn't able to make my smoothie in time. Like, I had literally put the ingredients in, was about ready to do it, but my husband was already waiting a little bit longer to start his meeting. Like, he was a minute late, and he told me to go ahead if I could, but I just knew I wasn't going to be able to do it in time, and I felt pressured. So I just didn't make my smoothie then, and I just waited in our bedroom with the door closed until his meeting was done. While I was in the bedroom, I just was so frustrated. I was so angry, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, I know not being able to make my smoothie right now and doing it half an hour later when his meeting's over was not a big deal. And that the Walmart pickup thing was not a big deal because I've learned after using it for over a couple years that most Walmarts really don't care if you don't get there between the hour window that you have scheduled. I've only had one Walmart in all of the states that I've traveled that's ever called me to say, "Hey, are you still coming?" Other than that, I've heard someone from Walmart tell me that they'll wait even up to like 2 days, and then after that point, they call the customer and they're like, "Hey, are you coming? Because if not, we're gonna put your stuff back." So logically, I knew all of these things weren't a big deal. It wasn't that bad, but I was still very upset, and I was trying to figure out why was I so upset that things didn't go my way and that I was running behind. And like I said, it wasn't a big deal. And so I had to sit with myself and I kind of meditated with my eyes closed. And what I realized is that I have this identity that I'm not good enough. Good enough for what? Good enough for who? I don't really know, but just not feeling like enough. And so that feeling of not being enough leads me to trying to overcompensate with everything that I do, no matter how small it is. I try to perfect it. I want to be perfect in order to feel enough. And then the conundrum with that is that we're never actually perfect enough, or we're perfectly imperfect, however you want to look at it. But perfection is really just an opinion. It's just whatever expectations we have set upon ourselves or others. And I tend to hold myself to such high expectations, way higher than anybody else that I know. And that causes a lot of pain when I can't meet those expectations. I believe that we're all harder on ourselves than we are on other people. We criticize ourselves more than we criticize anyone else that we love or that's in our life. And I've been trying to get to this point where I'm treating my inner child better, where I'm talking to my inner child and saying, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you got behind. It's okay that you slept in because you woke up and couldn't go back to sleep. It's okay that you didn't make your smoothie in time. It's okay that you're going to be late for your grocery pickup. It's okay. Something as simple as that literally helped so much. And it's something that I'm going to consciously set the intention to keep doing every time something like this happens, because it's like logically, I feel like we know this, that it's okay, but we still tend to get wrapped up in our circumstances and other things like that, and we forget. And so we get triggered and we go off the deep end over the smallest things. So we have to remind ourselves it's okay. And then what else I realized was how much I, and I'm sure many other people, don't feel enough, don't feel good enough. And the ultimate reason I feel like for that is because of the areas that we feel like we're not enough. So I want to ask you this: what areas do you feel like are not good enough in your life? It could be maybe you don't feel like you make enough money. Maybe it's that you feel like you don't have enough friends. Maybe it's that you feel like you're not a good enough parent, or you're not a good enough friend, or you're not a good enough partner. Maybe you don't feel like you're good enough at work. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough success, whatever that looks like for you in your career or any area of your life. Maybe you feel like that your body is not enough. It's not good enough. Like if you compare yourself to other people's bodies and say, well, I'm overweight, or I have stretch marks, or I have acne, or I have this and that. I'm not blonde hair, blue eyes, or I don't have Kim Kardashian's butt, whatever it is that's trending, that's fashionable, that's desired in mainstream media. We can look at those things, whether consciously or subconsciously, and compare ourselves, which uh, does cause suffering. It does cause internal suffering, because it says that, well, if I don't have that, and that is what's considered good, then I'm not good enough. So there's so many areas of our life and so many things that we feel like aren't good enough. And because those areas, those things to us don't seem good enough, then our ego tends to identify as those things, as those circumstances, as not enough. So if I feel like I don't have enough money in my bank account, then my ego will identify myself as, again, not enough. And what is not enough? It's lack. It's a lack mindset. And to me, there's no cure for lack when we're in it. Because no matter how much we attain, no matter how much money we get, how many friends we get, how many followers and likes we get, it's still never going to be enough. Because lack just creates more lack. It attracts more lack. And we feel like we are never going to be enough, or we're ever going to be whole and complete until we have those things that we feel like we need in order to be enough. If we're not in a relationship and we want one, then we feel like, oh, I can't be complete and enough or whole until I have that relationship. I can't be complete and whole until I have the dream job, or I have enough money, or I have enough of everything. And the more that we try, the harder that we try to attain these things and to get these things. And the more that we don't get them, or we don't get enough of it, in our opinion, the more we keep reinforcing the idea or the belief, the identity that we are not enough. And I've said this in a much older video, I think at the beginning of my channel, and I'll link it up above here. But I just want to remind you again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are not your bank account. You are not your number of followers or likes on social media. You are not the number that you see on the scale. You are not the amount of friends you have. You are not the amount of stuff that you have. Those are just things that we experience here in the physical. Those are things that we have. These are things that we interact with. But let us remember that those things, those circumstances, are not us. They're not our true identity. And when we can rise above that and really look at the situation from a higher perspective, you can kind of laugh about it when we realize that we identified with those things that we thought make us at our core. I know I did. When I looked at the situation, I just started laughing, even after I was crying, pretty much. And you may be saying to yourself, Monica, I know this. This is nothing new. We can know something, but not fully feel it to be true in every moment. We can know something, but not actually practice it. So there's a big difference. This is something I thought I knew all this time, but I forgot. It's something that I have to continually practice. I have to continually remind myself. And I'm kind of excited now when I get, for the future times when I get triggered and I go into that downward spiral of, oh man, I messed up. I'm not perfect. I made a mistake. I'm not good enough. And then I have the opportunity to remind myself and have that talk with my inner child again and say, that's okay. That's okay. I love you no matter what you did or what you didn't do. I love you for what you have and what you don't have. It doesn't matter. We tend to place so much emphasis on all of the physical things and surroundings, circumstances. We place more value on what we do than who we are, because we think that what we do or what we have is what we are, and that defines us when it really doesn't. So then we have to ask ourselves, I guess, well, then who am I? If I'm not my name or my weight or my age or my friend group or my job, what am I? That is something I think a lot of us ask, and that is the journey that we're continually on in this life, is just to figure out, who am I? And to figure out who we are, we have to figure out what we aren't. For me, and this is different, I'm sure, for everyone, I believe what I am, and what we all are, is consciousness, infinite consciousness, having a physical human experience. We are pure, unconditional love. We are not the things or the circumstances in our life. We are the consciousness that's aware of them, interacting and experiencing them. So the things, the circumstances, are not what truly matters or what is truly valuable. It's always going to be us, our soul, our energy, our consciousness. Everything else outside of us, that's just extra. Because when we have that mindset too, that's an abundant mindset. That is a whole, complete mindset. And no matter how much we do, sometimes with the law of attraction, even to try to manifest what we want, we just keep putting action and we keep doing and struggling. We can do that all we want, but unless we shift our identity to being enough, to being whole and complete as we are right now in every moment, no matter what we have or don't have, things aren't going to come to, our manifestations aren't going to come to fruition as quickly, because we're coming from a lack mindset, which vibrationally attracts more lack. When we feel abundant, we feel whole and complete, no matter, again, what we have or whatever our situation is, then that feels good enough. We feel good enough. And then we just start to say anything else is just icing on the cake, right? It's just the cherry on top. Then we start to say, wow, my life is really beautiful. I'm so grateful for everything I have in my life. And you might have an idea or see something and be like, it would be nice to, I guess, have a house by the beach. It would be nice to have more friends. Oh, it would be cool if, I got this thing, whatever it is. And then boom, it shows up. Because we're no longer in this vibration of neediness and desperation and lack. We're just like, oh, yeah, that would be cool if that happened. It'd be nice. But I don't have to have it to happen to know that I'm good enough. Because the more that we keep trying to do things and attain things to feel good enough, then every time something doesn't work out or it's not up to our expectations, we're just going to feel like failures and identify as a failure. It's this endless cycle. It just keeps looping. The way to break the cycle is remember that we're enough. I know this concept, as always, is easier said than done. But if we really, really sit with ourselves, and like I said, if we talk to our inner child and remind ourselves of that, and be patient, be loving, be kind, be compassionate with ourselves, be loving to ourselves, just like we would a child. And after I did that today, you know what? I let go. I surrendered to things that were beyond my control. And I've been doing all of my daily self-care things that I like to do because they make me feel good, even though it was pushing me further and further behind. So I did yoga today, and I did breath work, and I did some grounding or earthing. And I put myself first because everything else can wait, because I know that I'm valuable. And of course, there's going to be certain circumstances where, you may have an emergency or you may have an appointment that you really need to get to, and you can't do the yoga and all the self-care things because it's a very important appointment maybe that you can't get again or you had trouble getting. Then of course we prioritize things like that are very important to us that we don't want to miss. But also we need to prioritize ourselves more of the time, as much as we can. All right, everyone, that is my video for today. Hopefully something in there was helpful. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. And as always, I hope to see you in my next one. All right. Bye, everyone. Peace and much love.